going on? John Patrick Bleacher, for everyone listening. One of my longest, one of my best friends. Known you for more of my life than I haven't. Known me through the ups and downs, more so than I think any sane person would, and that's why you're one of my best friends. What's going on, man?
Doing pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm just my morning circus of dealing with my 17-year-old blind, deaf, paralytic, diaper-wearing dog running around.
Dude, I am impressed that he's still kicking it.
Dude, he was... I always tell people this. I remember holding him. I literally remember holding him, watching on CNN U.S. forces invading Iraq.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Let's just let's jump right into it. Why don't you introduce yourself? And I guess you and I can talk about anything and everything, but I guess what we're going to be talking about this episode.
Yeah, and just so you know, I'm talking more quietly because I have an Airbnb guest in the next room. So if she leaves, I'll
do you need
talk louder. But yeah,
do you need me to be quiet, or do you have headphones in? Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah. So I'm JP. I've known you since freshman year of high school. And I have had, I guess the reason why you called me on was my history with back pain and back issues. I had my first incident when I was 15. I herniated 2 discs and then had a discectomy, laminectomy at, I think, I was 15 years old. And then for a vast majority of my young adulthood, going in through college, I was pretty much fine with the occasional episode of what I feel like most people experience of just irritated my back and whatever. And you take it easy and it's fine. And so that was kind of my life until about 2015 when I re-herniated it, and there was really no incident. I stood up from a desk and I felt all the symptoms come back, and I ended up dealing with that from 2015 to the present. Yeah. It's been pretty chronic pain. I've had 2 additional surgeries and procedures that are called radio frequency ablations, where they use high frequency sound waves to essentially just burn the nerve endings to stop sending pain signals to the brain. And that's given me some relief. That's actually what I had most recently in February was a RFA, but I've also had epidural injections. Basically same thing you would get in a pregnancy or a giving birth, same idea. I've had I feel like the most invasive surgery I had was a fusion, where they take the squishy disc in between 2 vertebrae, they cut it out, and they take the 2 vertebrae together, and using rods and screws, they fuse it into one bone. Mm-hmm. And that's what I had in 2018. That was the best relief I had. That was in October of 2018. From then until April of 2019, I was in the best shape of my life. And then just re-herniated both the disc above and below where the one was fused, herniated. So, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Man, I feel like I should know this, but I don't. How does removing the squishy part between the 2 discs and fusing it together, how does that relieve? I don't know if you know that, or if it was explained to you. I don't know. Why does that? I get the radio frequency ablation. You're getting rid of the guys. You're getting rid of the nerve endings that are saying, "Hey, this hurts." I get that. What is the fusing? What does that do? Is it in simplest parlance? Does it just make it a more rigid single structure? Does it?
I'll say what it resolved was, and I guess I didn't mention this, from 2015 until the surgery in 2018, my ability to support my upper torso, or just my upper body in general, declined to the point where I was in a hunched position, legitimately like this. And if I tried to correct it, it would send, I call them jolts of pain, but it essentially felt like when you hit your funny bone really
Yeah,
hard,
yeah.
it feels like that, but running from, the small of your back to your toes. And
Oh,
it lasts like a long time once you like jolt it. So like I was forever in a hunched position so as to avoid this excruciating pain.
Jesus.
Um, and the fusion corrected that. I have not had
Yeah,
like
okay.
that issue. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, all right.
Um,
So, okay, it actually did.
so what's crazy is it fixed that problem, and now I have that. It like as far as a structural ability for your body to support itself, it fixed that.
Hmm.
But because it's such a strong connection, and you're removing a hinge,
Yeah.
the disc above it is now doing its job
Double.
and the job of
Like,
the two discs below it that have been fused.
okay.
So you're shortening the lifespan of it. And what happened to me, which they say usually takes about 10 years, it took about 4 months for me, was the disc above it and below it have now ruptured as well. And when that,
Jesus.
what that rupture means is like if you imagine, I've had it described to me as like a jelly donut or a coconut husk with like a jelly inside, but basically your disc with those two vertebrae has a much more fibrous exterior like shell,
Hmm.
and then that gelatinous interior. And what happens is it fissures, and that gelatinous material squirts through and impinges your nerve cord,
Okay.
and so that's what causes the pain down the leg. And so by like removing that completely, you're not having anything come out to impinge the nerve cord. So that's what the fusion also corrected. But again, it makes it more likely for the ones above it and below it to happen, which is what happened in my case. And even though it corrected my ability to support my torso in August of 2019, so about almost a year later after the fusion, I lost motor control in my right foot. I was actually on vacation with my wife and the Mediterranean cruise.
Hmm.
They actually kicked me off the ship and sent me to an Italian emergency room, or like Italy emergency room hospital. When they found out I couldn't, like I had paralysis in my foot,
Yeah.
basically. And so that was like the most severe case of that herniation, because what my pain physician explained to me is if you get that like sensation down your leg, that's like a like partial impingement. It's the
Okay.
most painful. But once you go beyond that, it's motor control, and actually the pain stopped, but there was more numbness, and I couldn't control my foot. So it was like
Drop
a
foot.
pretty bad trade off.
Jesus. Dude, can you imagine, not to make light of it, can you imagine if that happened, but you were on like vacation now and you were quarantined with coronavirus
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it would
and
be. Yeah, that would be miserable.
just jump off the side of the
Yeah.
boat at that point, man? Good lord. It's so
Yeah.
what are you doing now with with the, you said the vertebrae or the discs above and below it? What is so what's what's the future with
Actually,
that? Because
can I? Is there a way to like share? Because I have a photo of the MRI. Might help to like
I
explain.
think that's why I need you. That's why I need you to be my
Yeah.
my media man. Is I don't know any of this. Um, well, because I
Hold
remember
on
you
one
sent
second.
me that picture. You sent me that picture for everyone listening. You sent me a picture last year, and it was it an X-ray or an MRI? Did
It
you?
was an MRI, I think.
Yeah, and it was before and after, and yeah, you could just. It really did look like your nerve looked like bundled up tinfoil. Like it's like even just you sending it and me looking at it, like there was like an intuitive like there's clearly something wrong on the left, and you're like, yeah, that's what I was walking around with.
Yeah, so I pulled it up, but it's saying in order to be able to share my screen, I have to quit Skype and restart.
That's well,
So, I mean, I can. I don't know if I can. I don't know if you can share stuff and I can share it to you or whatnot. But
can you just message it to me on Skype, or you can
yeah, might be easier to text it to you.
say, yeah, text it and I can just pull it up. Um, let's see. Me, oops, JP sent me 3 images. So I got the top one right now, which is, yeah, I can on the left. So everyone listening, on the leftmost one, it literally you can see what your vertebrae going horizontally stacked above, and then you can see what looks like almost rolled up tinfoil, and you can literally see it, quite literally pinching it. You can quite literally see the pinched nerve. The one in the middle has the two screws in the side, and then what's the rightmost one?
The rightmost one is, it's actually not my most recent MRI. It's the MRI post my fusion, but pre my discectomy.
Okay.
But it basically looks the same because I had that discectomy last September, and then I got an MRI 2 weeks later, and it had already re-ruptured. So
Yeah.
It pretty much looks the same.
All right, I pulled up the second image. Is that the same one that
It's
was on the front?
Okay. Yeah, I think it's just the same one. And then the last one is just
Sure.
it's just a bigger image of that third one.
I was gonna say the Rick Sanchez give popped up. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, dude. So what? So what is the next step? If you said it, so it's takes 10 years, and here you are 4 months later. It seems that you're the magnet for. It just seems like since like the first time your back messed up. I mean, literally back in like high school under Coach Massey. It seems like every time something happens with your back, it'd be funny if it wasn't so terrible, but it's always, doctors like, oh, this shouldn't happen until this date, or you're young, this isn't, and it's always like 6 months later you're like, the thing happened, and they're like,
Yeah.
but you're 17, you're 21, you're 24, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
you're like, I can't get out of bed, like,
Yeah.
so what is the next step?
So basically where I'm at now is I had two doctors. My one doctor, the neurosurgeon who did the fusion and the discectomy, after the discectomy last September, and then we got another MRI and it had re-ruptured. He actually put me on the schedule for a 3-level lumbar fusion, where that would be the one that was fused, the one above it, and the one below it, which is essentially 50% of the vertebrae that account for your mobility of your spine. So I probably would never be able to touch my toes again. And I mean, obviously it's an irreversible surgery. It's not, that hardware is there for life. You can't get those removed because they removed the organic tissue that used to be there. So it's definitely a permanent surgery. Yeah. So I was on the books for that, to have an additional 2 fusions. But I was doing kind of my own like online research and psyched myself out about it. And I even, talking with my dad, we were saying, let's just explore every other option before we, go down that road. And so I went back to my pain physician who does the epidurals and radiofrequency ablations, and he was the one who was, my go-to doctor up until I lost motor control. He said, once you hit that loss of motor control, you're basically out of my field, and I have to refer you to someone else. But once I gained that control back, he said, I can see you again, basically clean slate. So I had the epidural in January. I had the radiofrequency ablation in February. And I am at a point where it's like manageable pain, but it is constant. And I am starting to realize like that's just something I may have to live with. I'm not sure getting a 3-level fusion would correct that. So I'm kind of just biding my time, honestly, right now.
Yeah. What is the psychology of that? What is, for me, I'm a wimp. When something hurts for, when I have pain one day, I always can. So like, only on a few occasions in my life have I had what I would imagine would be your back pain. And when I say a few occasions, I mean like maybe two nights in my life I can
Yeah.
remember that it wasn't just like a, oh, my back, like I lifted wrong. I mean, like waking up in the middle of the night and like within minutes being like sweating because I was like,
Right.
holy shit. And then to the point where it's like so bad that I remember it wasn't even like you got a sore arm, you can shift something. I hurt my neck a lot when I'm lifting. It happens like every other month. It's always something like I can just shift this way and I'll be good. I vividly, this was in 2018 I think, and I remember it happening, and it was like it didn't matter which way I rolled, which it was just just like a buzzer, just and it
Yeah.
was just like, oh my god. And like I remember it was like I was like reached my phone and was like trying to text my mom downstairs. It was like 2 in the morning, and like I was like I can't move, and like this was like a 20-minute process just to get to the restroom. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
literally like trying not to like scream, like
Mm-hmm.
to the point where like getting back in my bed, and I remember I couldn't get back in bed, so I just was like kneeling down on the side of my bed, like laying like face first, like my torso on it. It was literally like, well, I'm already on my knees, like I might as well pray. Like it was just like,
Yeah.
but that was, and but as bad as that was, and it was, I remember thinking, to the point where like my parents came upstairs and finally like, oh, you literally can't move, and like they helped me downstairs, and like, um, I think my mom got me like a painkiller or something, and it helped enormously. And like over the next couple of days, it went away. But I remember the psychology of it was like, this is blinding, this is painful, but it was like, this is gonna pass, this is gonna pass, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually, yeah, it got less, and I was like, okay, I might have to take a week off from the gym. This is gonna pass. This is gonna pass, and it went away. Even with, I mean, you know how white I am, how badly I get sunburned. Though even the worst ones, it's always like this.
Right.
This will pass. This is hell right now. Like, meditate, focus on your breath. This will pass. Today is less bad than yesterday. To me, I think I would start to. I think I would start to break if it was chronic. Like
Yeah.
like you can explain a surgery to me and how much it hurts, and you can recover, and it's, oh yeah, 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 and then you and I talk again a couple months later, you had another one and how much it hurts, and like, yeah. But for me, just in my life, it's like that's like a, you're one friend of many friends. It's just like I only plug into your life so much. I'm just thinking from your point of view, like that's all day every day. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
I'll a long-winded way of like of wording this, like how does that, what does that affect? Does it, do you get a certain mental resilience to it, or does it just, are you just like, it's like right under the surface, I just want to scream, like, because there are compounding effects. It's not just pain. It's like, well, now I can't work out as much, now I can't literally just like run around, and okay, we're adults, we're almost 30, but even like I still just like to run around sometimes, chase my dog, or drunk with my brothers up
Yeah.
at the lake, shove someone, like just little stuff like that. How does that wear on you?
Um, it it was something that I developed. It has taken years of me developing mental fortitude to even be able to like talk about it with you like I am right now.
Mm.
Um, I need to do something for my wife. Give me two
That's
seconds. I
fine.
need
That's
to
fine.
check the laundry.
That's
Hold on one
fine, dude.
second.
Of how it wears on you, how it psychologically, not just wearing on your, I guess literally and figuratively wearing on your nerves. It's
Yeah.
it's yeah. What is the only experience I could say I had with chronic pain would be mid March 2014, getting my tonsils out. I mean,
Yeah.
that wasn't the worst pain I'd ever felt, but in terms of like around the clock, that started to wear on me. I got to like 3 weeks. I got to like 21 days, and I vividly remember like doctor was like, you can't get at, like you really can't be walking around, like just, I guess the movement, you can't be like jarring loose the scabs. And I told my mom, I was like, I'm going for a walk around the neighborhood, and I walked at like, dude, I had to have been doing a 120-minute mile. But I was like, I was like, I have to go, like I have to just move my legs, I have to like see the sun, I have to,
Right.
and that wore on me. Just that, like,
Yeah.
and to the point where like I remember that. Yeah, but yeah, you have the floor. How does it wear on you? How do you cope with it? How do you?
Uh, um, yeah. So, I mean, like, I mean, I encourage people to try and relate to the pain, because you feel, number one, alone when no one's really experiencing you, and not to diminish what you were just saying, but like, dealing with, in terms of weeks, like 3 weeks, I've
Yeah,
learned to deal with months and year-long scales.
yeah, decade and a half, as far as I remember. Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm not saying that as like, oh, I've conquered this, because
no, it
a lot of
absolutely
times I
is.
need to be
You,
reminded of that, like, by Zoe and the people around me, that you have gone through all this, and you're still here, because yeah, I mean, I feel like the initial, like, I mean, yeah, it bothered me in high school, but I got it taken care of when I was a kid, and it was almost like, like a wounded animal released back into the wild. It's like, oh, that was weird, and it just keeps on, like, going on with its life. Like, that was
yeah,
me. I didn't. It was like a distant thing in the back of my mind.
yeah,
Um, but then when it happened again in like 2015, and it was just from standing up from a desk, not weight training or anything like that. um, Essentially, I mean, it was years later, but essentially I was diagnosed with PTSD, because I had this fear of any wrong movement could cause months of excruciating pain. And so I mean, I am a huge advocate for mental health therapy and all that, and that's something I regularly do. And so it's again something that's taken time to build up. But yeah, I mean, it gets extremely challenging. It wears on you. It wears on the people around you. Uh, yeah, I mean, there are aspects, I think, of the mental strain that are almost worse than the physical, even though
absolutely.
talking about a funny bone long pain through your
Yeah,
back is
yeah,
not ideal.
yeah. No, no, absolutely. But yeah, I hadn't thought about that. The kind of your chronic pain is bad, but like the false hope when you get these windows of like, is it better? And then being terrified. I mean, it's almost like playing Minesweeper. It's like that's it, or it's like a Jack in the Box. Like that stuff's like you're 29 years old. You give me one of those things. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah,
Does that not make your get a little on edge? When's it gonna go? It's
yeah.
it's yeah. I mean, and I think you also said it well. I mean, it wears on those around you. Um, I talked about someone like with this about anxiety and depression and suicidal thoughts, and how, I mean, they're bad enough on their own. It's bad enough when not everyone around you are experiencing them. But then there's this whole other side where it's like you can openly talk about the problems. You can openly, and hope you have a very supportive family and friends, which I'm blessed to have. But there are also times where it's like it can compound itself, because it's like not even that the depression and anxiety is terrible, although it is. It's also, and I don't want this to fall on anyone else. So, all, having an anxiety attack, you're not sleeping well, you didn't sleep well, so you're cranky, but you couldn't sleep because all night you were, I mean, literally just like, just freaking out. And then the next morning, someone, whatever, parks in your spot, and you're trying with everything you have to not snap, because to you, even though you just had this full night of anxiety, which meant that you couldn't sleep, which now means that your patience is worn thin. I know, for at least for me, when I don't get sleep, that's what happens. You're now also, you're holding back this dam of like, I can't erupt on this person or this family member or this girlfriend, because to them, if they just woke up and they're, they accidentally parked in your spot, all they see is the tip of the iceberg. All they see is, why did you park in my spot? And it's just like, all right, asshole. And so on top of everything, you're also like, don't be like that. Don't be like that. You're like, hey, and it like, there's no outlet. And yeah, it all starts to, so that's what I meant by like, yeah, like the psychological impact is it just, like, a fire could start because of whatever, someone throwing a cigarette, but it can very quickly move into a bushfire and then a forest fire and then a wildfire to the point where the original thing has nothing to do with it anymore. It's now taken on a life of its own. It's creating its own convection and updrafts and its own fuel sources. It has nothing to do with the original cigarette anymore. And it turns into this entire beast. That is what I feel like would happen with me if I had chronic back pain, to the point where you'd almost really, like you said, like, not that a funny bone pain shooting from your spine to your toes isn't bad, but it would just be this compounded, well, I can't do this, and because of this I can't work, and because I can't work, I'm having money problems, and I'm arguing with my friend, and he doesn't know this, and now I'm wishing I could do this, and it just gets to a point where you're like, how did we even get to Z? Like, I thought we were dealing with A to B, because once you get to Z, if it's A, which is back pain, people will understand that. But if it gets to, I can't pay this and I haven't slept well and I haven't, well, that solely seeps into the realms of everyone's problems. Like, hey man, everyone has tough days. And it's just like, yeah. And it's like, so what do you do? It's like, and the only people that can understand you are people that also have chronic back pain. And it's like, but what good does that do you? Because then it's just you guys both agreeing that this sucks. Like, and where does that go? It's
yeah. I mean, I haven't really relied on like people with back. I mean, I have, as far as like social media, followed a few. It's called #Spoonies, and it's people with chronic pain.
Yeah.
But most of them aren't back pain. So even then, it's not like I'm relating on the actual physical ailments, but a lot of times the struggles that, bleed into other things are very similar. The whole idea of a spoonie is you're given X amount of spoons each day that you can use on stuff. So you have to be very deliberate with what you choose to do, because there's only so much you can do in a day. And that's very similar to what I've had with back issues is, some days I can handle a mile-long walk. Nowadays I can handle like a mile to 2 mile long walk. I'll feel like back irritation for a couple hours afterwards, but then it goes away. But it used to be, mile long walk, and I would be on my ass for like 2 or 3 days. And so the idea of a spoonie is like you delegate how much and really what you're willing to risk it for on day-to-day activities.
Yeah.
I don't really relate with other back pain people like me. I don't like regularly talk with them, but I would say that I've, like you were saying, people don't understand, that your outburst over whatever is actually related to your back pain. And I feel like I have kept a core group of people, really like my wife, my family, some close friends who can read the signs of like where I'm at. They know when I need to get up and walk around. They know when I need to lay down or, be by myself because I'm not really able to even listen because I'm distracted by the pain. So like, it's just finding a right environment to deal with it.
Yeah,
has been beneficial for me.
What if, and I don't know if you can or want to talk about this, and you don't have to if you don't want to. What have you done in terms of medication for pain management, whether just straight up like, hit me with the morphine, or whether it's here's an inflammatory drug, or things like CBD, or just, I guess, I think back to like, like maybe like 2010, Tommy and JP, like, oh man, just, down a bottle, like, there are different, what do you, because again, for someone like me with an incredibly addictive personality, and if I had something like back pain grinding on me, I mean, god damn, is that not just the devil opening the door, like the devil of opiates? Just to me, it's like that's not only a slippery slope, that's like an inverted slope covered in like lubricant. Like it'd be like, oh
Yeah.
my god, here's relief. And it wasn't stretching, it wasn't a radio frequency, it wasn't surgery, it was just a pill. Oh my, thank God I slept. Oh my, and I got a good night's sleep, and I was cheery to my wife, and oh, the pain's coming back. Oh, I'm gonna take another one. To me, that's
Mhm.
like God, that's like lighting a match in like a oil refinery for me. I
I think the reason why I never really went down that route is because the like what you just described of like, oh, this pill and now I can sleep again. Like the pill never was this miraculous
okay,
savior. Like my approach to pain management has always been multiple approaches. So, you know, if I'm taking an opioid, which I have for months at a time, it's always been, you know, the appropriate dose, nothing more, supplemented with physical therapy or something else. You know, like because I've never had a pill that I take and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm good now. You know,
okay,
it's always been like, no, I'm still in a lot of pain, but it's a little bit less now.
yeah,
So I never went down that route of like feeling a need to abuse it because it was never that helpful to begin with.
okay,
Um, but yeah, I
okay,
mean, I did have an issue with alcohol for a while because I was trying to just make the pain go away. But honestly, I discovered that it really just inflames the back even more. That you would drink
taking my
for a few
meds. Yeah,
hours.
sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, and
So I honestly I have found that not drinking helps. So I rarely drink now because it helps with my back pain.
yeah,
Um, really, I've been very cognizant of what works, what doesn't work, and tried to keep with the things that work, and not deal with the stuff that doesn't. So,
yeah. How,
but again, it's taken time, years.
yeah, it years. I mean, like mental health, it takes years of tinkering, pharmacologically,
Right.
therapeutically. Um, how and I don't know if you can or want to. How has how have CBD or THC helped, or have they, or have you not tried it, or can you don't have to talk about that?
Yeah. No, I mean, I do find
Say part.
both to be helpful.
I was gonna say parts of
Yeah.
America are still in the dark ages, so I don't want. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
some people will be like, so yeah, but
No, I
yeah, I
mean
don't care.
both
Yeah,
both have been helpful to me. In fact, my uncle has been dealing with back pain, and similar issues had been bothering him for months. And he had been trying opioids, PT. He was actually scheduled to get an epidural, but he got apparently some CBD lozenge that it completely neutralized the pain for him. He canceled the epidural appointment because he was like, it worked for me. So
really.
I've never had that
Yeah,
experience, but I mean, yeah, I've heard of it for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah, man. I feel like if I was in Europe, yeah,
I've had it go from on a scale of 1 to 10, my pain go from an 8 to a 4 or 5. So I mean, it's a pretty
okay,
significant.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, and but that was for me like that. It's almost like that the non-addiction of CBD and THC would almost help, but at the same time fuel my addictive personality because it'd be like okay, like this gummy, like because I took gummies last year for insomnia and anxiety, and it worked amazing. But
Mm.
just being me, it was now like okay, now I need these every night, and there was never a problem because it's like they're not addicting. It's eventually you run out.
But you build a tolerance.
Yeah, um,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like if I had chronic back pain, I would just honestly, man, I honestly think I would probably just be like smoking or taking edibles like all day. But then it comes down to like all right, man, but like now you got to work, and
Yeah.
when you're on Pluto at 9 in the morning on a Monday, you can't. It's like, how do you work? And then it's okay. Well, I cannot do this, and it's just, yeah. Everywhere you turn, it seems like there's a this, but you can do this, and it, yeah, it. I don't know, man.
Well, I mean, that's why like I said, it's all um, smaller, in moderation and a varied. Like it's not just the one thing. Like I don't get blasted off edibles, but a little bit supplemented with some light, 30 minutes of walking,
Okay.
with some light stretching, that kind of stuff. It all contributes to a manageable day.
Yeah. Yeah. What chair do you have? Are you sitting on? Is it Kill a Bee? Is that a good chair for your back? Is that?
I got this chair because it reclines. Yeah, so
I got this chair at Walmart the other day because I don't know if you can. I have an old rocker that I think was my grandmother's, literally an old wooden rocker. And for the first 49 podcasts, I would come in every morning beforehand, and I'd put 3 pillows on it, and then I'd put a blanket over it and tuck it in to hold it. And after I think one episode, my back hurt so much, and I was like, I just sat down one day. I was like, it's 2020, man. What am I doing? Like, I was like, It's not even like I went to Walmart and got this. I was like, why have I guess that's just me being an idiot. I've wanted you to do this forever just because I think you would be fantastic at it. Have you thought about doing any? I mean, there are a dime a dozen, but I would say this off air, and I have said it. I think you would be truly incredible at doing like a technology podcast. Like, just, as long as I've known you, I've always, and you know me, if I could use like AOL, I'd probably still be using AOL. Like, to me, it's all over my head. You always have, I don't want to say ability, because ability takes away from like the time put into it, but I'll just, for lack of a better word and lack of talking, you have such an incredible ability to, I remember the first iPhone, you explaining it, and we're doing this, and not just like, any idiot like me could be like, yeah, well, touchscreen is definitely the next like paradigm shift. But there would be updates. I vividly remember sitting in your room at your parents' house and you explaining it, that the new update, and it was, you could now have multiple apps open at once. So you could close one app and like switch to another one, which we now don't think of. It's, double click, flip to YouTube, go to Reddit, whatever, Instagram. But I remember you were like, no, this is huge. Like, you no longer have to close this when you go to this. And again, to you, you may be thinking, yeah. But to me, it always sticks out. It's just your ability to just, it like lights you up. And there's a method, there's a logic to me saying all this. Have you thought about doing like a technology podcast or just any sort of review where it's, you don't even have to buy it, just walk through it, do a screen record and go through the newest products? Because that is something that, not only could you make money off of, but that's something to not lose your mind, to occupy your mind. And on days where it's like, I'm 29 and I feel like I have the body of a 50, I'm limited to these things. When's the next time I can run? If I have kids, am I going to be able to play with my kids? I'm looking at that as like an outlet for you, on top of the fact that I think you'd be amazing at it. Or is that something that doesn't interest you at all? You don't look interested?
I've like thought about it, but yeah, like I enjoy like consuming that kind of media, but like I don't, because it is a dime a dozen, and like I don't know, I don't really have a desire to do that. But I think those types of activities are crucial to getting that headspace you need.
Yeah. Yeah. I want you to do one. I think, dude, I know there are a dime a dozen, man, but I really, because like I watch a couple just to like, who's the guy that he always has the newest like Apple thing? He's a He's the black guy, and he always has a shirt that says Matt Black. He's got like 10 million subscribers. He always has the newest iPhone.
MKBHD.
What?
MKBHD.
I think that's him. I only recently started watching him, but I mean, even him, I like went back to, because he just broke 10 million subscribers. But I went back to his first videos, and it really is just like, it's just like him starting out. But I look at, and the reason I bring this up is because the only person I can compare him is to you. When I watch his videos, and he's like, all right, guys, so this is what we're going through with this. This is the new iMac Pro, and this is why you need this, and this. It literally makes me like, I get the same sensation of when I'm like sitting down next to you, and it's like you explaining, like, okay, Tommy, this is what this is, and this is what this is, and it's, for me, it's, even though I don't know what he's talking about, and it's like I recently watched him break down the iMac Pro, like the $43,000 one, and it's, obviously I don't need it, but I was watching him go through and basically explain why I don't need it. And even though much of what he said went over my head, and the few things that did go in one ear still went out the other, but what was almost like enchanting was watching someone that so clearly loves this, and they can break it down, because to me it really is, I mean, it's like Bob Lazar with a UFO. He's like breaking it down to like the stupid, like, guards around him. That's how I feel around this, and that's how I always feel around you. When, it's just even little, like, okay, you need to get this app, and you need to do this, and you need to do this. Like, it's, even if I'm not going to do any of the things you're telling me to do, like, it's addicting to watch, because you can't fake passions. Anyone can, like I showed, anyone can sit down and just memorize organic chemistry equations. Okay, whatever. But you can't fabricate like true passion and love for something. And it's, I mean, again, I know you're not interested in doing it, but like, God, I would not only would I subscribe, I would legitimately watch every video you made. I would, I'm not lying. And not just like I played on, so you got the view. Like, no, I would watch every video. And the thing is like you said, you like to consume it. The thing is like, so you could just make videos on the stuff that you really like. Me, I don't have on any guests I don't want to have on. There's no like, well, I got to talk to this guy. I only have on people I want to. And when I don't want someone on, I'll just straight up be like, hey man, I don't think I'm going to do the podcast. I don't care. Like, I want to talk to you. That's why I'm having you. Like, I only have people on I want to talk to. When other people are like, hey, I've got an interesting thing, I'm like, that's cool. I don't care. You could just do things where it's, maybe do one a week, maybe do one a month, maybe do 5 in a week, and then don't do it for a month.
Maybe I've been doing that, and I just don't share my videos.
Well, why would you do that? That is just cruel. But dude, but I would say this even if we weren't doing a podcast. Like, I would, and I have said it. Maybe I haven't worded it as clearly. Dude, I think that is a doorway that you could kick open. Like, I'm not going to convince you if you. I'm not going to convince you if you don't want to do it. But dude, I really.
Yeah.
I think if you started one, man, I've legit. If I didn't think you would succeed at it, I wouldn't be blowing you up and saying all this. I wouldn't be saying it to like make you feel better. Like,
yeah,
dude, I think very few people have the passion and the ability to break it down, and I think that I really think you could have a successful like channel with that. And I wish you would.
Cool, man.
I don't think you want to, so I'm gonna start trying to pitch it to you. You're just like, thanks, bud. Cool story. Like, all right, okay, fine. Yeah, man. Dude, I don't know. I'm trying to have on. I've been emailing people from SpaceX. I want to have someone come on and talk about like Starship and interplanetary travel. I don't know if it's gonna work. I emailed. I got the email. president of Xbox. I want to have him come on and talk about Xbox
That'd be
Series.
crazy.
Dude, I'm. What do you think about that? So I sold my
I
Xbox One
honestly
last
haven't
fall.
been keeping up with it, to be honest.
I sold my Xbox One last fall because I was playing it too much. And whenever I'd want to play video games, I'd drive up to Matt and a 2-hour drive. But finally I realized, I was like, I don't want to drive up there every time I want to play video games. So like 2 weeks ago, I bought a 360. And I've been playing all the Modern Warfares. And I do my podcast, do my schoolwork. I got work on the weekends. But like 2-3 hours in the afternoon, I'll just play like, the equivalent of like Rainbow Six.
Yeah.
And I'm already like, oh, this is so fun. But I'm limiting myself to a 360 because there's only so much I can do on it. I almost can't get lost in it. The Xbox Series X, dude. So the Xbox One X, that thing is already supposed to be like the most powerful thing. The Xbox Series X, I was watching a video on it. They're like, it's gonna be capable to do 8K gaming. Which is insane.
Yeah, I've heard that like the benchmark that a lot of them are like going off of is live ray tracing.
Yeah.
Like being able to like,
I don't even know what that is, but I know it's like a buzzword.
I don't really understand what it is either, but it's basically like hyper realistic lighting and shadows that like basically like pixel for pixel, it's like the same as what you would see in real life or something.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And Grand Theft Auto said that, I think they said the other day that they're not going to release 6, or they're only going to release 6 for the next gen. So PS5 and Xbox Series X, which is going to be insane.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for that. It's because it's been 7 years since since GTA 5. Which is the longest gap in between any Grand Theft Autos. As you know, I love Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
But yeah, they said they're only going to release 6 for PS5 and Xbox Series X, which is. That's the thing, man. Is I don't know if I can buy those because that's all I will do. That's all I like. There's something with things getting so. I mean, dude, even on Xbox One, just playing Just Cause 4 and Ace Combat and Watch Dogs, like that, I had to sell it because
because you do everything 110%, good or bad. Yeah, I've been saying this for years.
I know. It's
like just like the way you were talking to me about an addictive personality, like. Yeah. Your mind goes to getting blitzed at 9 a.m. on a Monday.
Yeah.
Whereas I think like, okay, like microdose throughout the week is,
It's, I'm getting better at it. I'm going to try to limit myself to 3 to 4 podcasts a week instead of like 15.
Sure.
I got a job at
work on the production. I mean, that's the thing is like, yeah, you like everything you do 110%, and through brute force you accomplish a lot. But if you were to take a step back and refine what you do, you could probably get even further.
Yeah, I remember you said that last fall when I was like I was like sending out graphic design portfolio's, and I was like showing you like how many I was doing every day, and you were like, you could still put the same work into it, but you're like, channel it differently. It's almost like instead of just stacking dollar bills, like still do the same work but maybe stack some quarters, maybe stack some dimes, like you're still getting currency. You were like, look at the ones you have been submitting, look at what the feedback is on it, now tweak your resume and see where that goes. And it's like, because I remember you saying, you're like, because I know I'm not going to get through to you if I just tell you to do less. Because you're like, that's not you. You're like, why would I do less? Would I do more? Why would I stop when I go? So you're like, I'm trying to speak your language. Like, you could still do it, but almost in a different sense. It's like, dollars to why don't you do quarters, and it's still the same. It's that's one thing I want to do is is I'm trying to find fewer guests, but guests that I truly like. I've wanted to talk to every guest I've had, but some of them I've wanted to talk to because I just wanted to get like I wanted to build up the podcast and just get more under my belt, get more experience with talking to people. Now I'm trying to do my first step. Maybe in production value isn't even with technology. It's just so I had on that guy from Delta Force this past Wednesday. That was the only one I did that week. And for like 4 days prior, I read his books, I watched all of his interviews, and I like prepared questions. And so when we had it, granted it was only 1-2 hour podcast, I still put in as much work as I would 20 podcasts.
Right.
But it was just channeled into it. Lo and behold, that video has got more views and more watch time than the second, third, fourth, and fifth most combined.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With you, it's like JP's. Well, not only is JP one of my best friends, but JP's someone I want to talk to, and it's like I want to talk to you about this. On Wednesday, I'm having a guy from NASA talk about the SLS, basically their new heavy launch system. That's someone I want to talk to. But I can still put in the work, just channel it differently. Starting working at that bar I worked at in 2011 where I met Ivan, Secrets. And they said, do you want to work every day? And at first I was like, yeah, I won't. And I literally was like, let's just start with weekends. And he was like, all right, yeah, we can start with weekends. And it was, so now I'm going to start doing that on Friday. I'm in my online graphic design courses and I'm doing this podcast. And I really, as much as it may be like eye rolling or be like, yeah, sure. Like I really am trying to take note on not everything is a cinder block on the gas pedal. It's because I've had successes with it in my life, but there's also like, I've heard enough people give me that constructive criticism over 29 years where it's like, people that don't know each other and they independently say it. At some point, it's like, what's the writing on the wall? Like, enough people are saying that I'm like, okay, maybe there is some reason behind that. And it's very difficult because to me, it's if I'm not giving it my all, like I'm just hurting myself because it's something I want. But I'm like you said, speaking your language, I'm trying to look at it like, how can I still fill, because I love to do all the work, but it's like, how can I maybe channel it differently? Production value. I found a software, OBS Studios. I still haven't figured out how to use it, but it's like that will rip the audio directly from Skype. So like right now, it's like I'm screen recording it, and it records my voice, and then your voice comes through the speakers and then gets recorded. Like there is a smarter way to do that, but here I am on episode 51 and I still haven't done it yet. And it's like that, a podcast, like, dude, come on, like that should be like step one. Like you want to nail the audio down. It's a podcast, I have this microphone and I have not used it, like just because I'm like, well, if I tried to use it once and I couldn't screen, like it wasn't taking in the audio through Skype, so I was just like, I'm just not going to use it. But I'm trying to look at it more like take a step back, like maybe don't do a podcast this day, but instead sit down and like try to learn how to use this microphone, like try to learn how to like rip the audio directly. Just take like baby steps in that direction. You can still fill up all your time with work, but just try to increase the quality, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to I'm trying to chip off the outer layers of my thick skull and try to be more open to like, okay, so so is that what you meant when you text me with production value? You're like, why don't you want anyone else?
I mean, just like I know, like MKBHD, for example, he's got teams of people who handle various aspects. Like as you like work with others who have, different strengths and weaknesses, you can delegate. If someone's better at video editing, have them do that. If someone's better at audio editing, have them do that. Like, you can still be creative control, but not necessarily doing every aspect of the whole podcast.
That's all I meant when the other day when I was like, I want autonomy. With autonomy, I meant I want to choose my guests and have my conversations the way, I don't want like we're going to talk about this and we're going to have these talking points in a focus group. I don't want that. In terms of everything, like I said, I'm indifferent to the rest of it. If that's what you meant by producing the podcast, then we may have had a horrible miscommunication, because I'm completely open to that.
I don't know what I could offer at this point, but
yeah. I do just want to figure out smaller things, just like audio quality, like video quality, because like I can talk to people, I can find guests, I have no problem doing that. I have no problem with emails and calling people. I'm having on Garrett Graff. His book.
Who's that?
He wrote Raven Rock. It's a book about all the nuclear bunkers in America. He used to work for Politico. He's a Harvard grad. He's a professor at Georgetown. His book was the #1 best-selling book on Audible last year. It's cool. Raven Rock. And he just came out with another book, The Only Plane in the Sky, about Air Force One on 9/11. And I was like, I want to talk to him about that. And kind of what you said, I was like, why don't I? So I didn't do a podcast yesterday, and I was like, why don't I just? I'd emailed him a couple times, and I couldn't get a response. And I was like, I want to have a guest today. I want to have. It's like when I texted you yesterday, I was like, can you talk today? I was like, I want to have a guest, and then I thought, like, what if I just like took the time and tried to get a hold of him? And lo and behold, finally around 5, like I found a number, and I called. And it was like, hello, this is Garrett. And I was like, is this Garrett Graff? And he was like, this is. And I was like, I didn't think you'd pick up. And he goes, who is this? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And I introduced myself, and I was like, I love your book. I talk about it almost every episode. I was like, would you like to do my podcast? He goes, oh yeah, I got your email, Corrigan. And I was like, yeah, it's close enough. And I was like, he was like, yeah, I was on vacation, man. He goes, I'd love to do it. I was like, I'll shoot you a time. And I was like, oh my God. But yeah, that was something where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna reread all of his books. So I'm probably not gonna have the week leading up to it. I'm probably not gonna have an episode, but it's all gonna be preparing for that one. And I'm trying to take your advice and take the cinder block off the gas pedal, or at least put it on the gas pedal, but like take different turns and shit. I don't know if that makes sense.
Awesome, man.
Yeah,
I'm glad that you're doing this.
I appreciate it, dude. Well, shit, man. I'll let you go. I wish I knew more about pain management, but thank you for doing it, man.
For sure.
Please, God, start a technology podcast. How about you do a dry run? You do like a trial. How about just come on here? Next time something really...
You're actually legitimately cut out. I can't hear you anymore.
You can't hear me?
Oh, no, I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So next time you... Yes. Only when you see something that like truly like revs you up, the next phone, laptop, whatever, save that and bottle it. Let's do an episode and talk about it. And it could be like a beta version of, you're not interested in doing this podcast at all. So I'll stop pitching it to you.
Keep trying, man.
Keep trying, bud. I want the one with the bigger GBs. Yeah. Oh, God. All right, dog.
All right, man. It's good chatting with you.
Thanks for doing it, buddy.
Of course.
Yeah. All right, man. Take care. Peace.